Chapter 1. The marriage that wasn't a choice. The sound of clinking glasses, laughter, and violins filled the ballroom. But Ava Hayes felt like she was choking. Her fingers twisted the hem of her silk dress, nails digging into the fabric as the reality settled in. This wasn't a dream. It was a nightmare. She was standing next to him. Ethan Carter. Every girl in town called him the devil dressed in Armani. And he really was. Arrogant, ruthless, and cold as hell. His grey eyes cut sharper than broken glass. And the smirk he carried like he owned. Every damn thing in sight made her want to slap him straight across the face. But instead, here she was, his wife. Her father had signed the papers. Their businesses merged. Ava's freedom got sold in the process. And Ethan, of course, looked like he'd won some game. "Smile, sweetheart," Ethan whispered close to her ear, his voice low and laced with mockery. "You don't want the cameras to catch how much you hate me already, do you?" Ava's jaw clenched. "Go to hell." He smirked wider, leaning back just enough to look at her. "Darling, I think hell came to us the second you said I do." Her blood boiled. God, if only she could rip off these heels and storm out. But she couldn't. Her family's company was at stake. Her father's health on the line. She had no choice. When the photographer called them closer, Ethan snaked an arm around her waist. His grip was firm, almost possessive, and the way he pulled her in made her body stiffen. He bent his head, lips brushing dangerously close to her ear again. "Relax, wifey," he murmured. "You'll make people think I forced you into this." Her heart thudded at the word. Forced. Because that's exactly what it was. Ava plastered on the fakest smile she could manage. The camera flashed. Ethan's hand lingered on her lower back, and she could feel the power play in his touch. Everyone saw a picture-perfect couple. No one saw the storm brewing inside her. Later that night, when the guests had left and the mansion grew quiet, Ava finally let herself breathe. She kicked off. Her heels in their massive bedroom, the one they were supposed to share, and glared at Ethan, who was loosening his tie like he didn't have a care in the damn world. "This isn't a marriage," she snapped. Ethan tilted his head, eyes darkening as he studied her. "No? Then what do you call it, princess? A transaction? A prison?" Her voice cracked, but she held her chin high. He chuckled, low and dangerous, stepping closer. "Call it whatever the hell you want. You're still mine now." Ava's breath hitched. His nearness was suffocating, intoxicating even. She hated that her pulse raced when he towered over her, hated that his cologne was already in her lungs. She swallowed hard. "I will never be yours." For a moment, Ethan's smirk faltered, replaced by something sharper, something possessive. He leaned down until his lips brushed against her hair, his voice rough. "Careful, Ava. You'll find that in this house. Never doesn't exist." Her heart pounded like it wanted to break free. And for the first time, Ava realized this marriage wasn't just forced. It was dangerous. Chapter 2. The night that changed everything. The bedroom door slammed shut behind them, the sound echoing like a verdict. Ava froze, her chest rising and falling too fast. She'd spent the whole night convincing herself she'd lock him out, that she'd draw a line so thick he couldn't cross it. But Ethan Carter never cared about lines. He loosened his tie, tossing it onto the chair, his grey eyes never leaving her. The silence was thick, charged. He looked like a predator who already knew his prey wasn't running anywhere. Ava forced herself to speak, even though her throat was dry. "You're not touching me tonight." His lips curved into that dangerous smirk again. "Sweetheart, you don't get to tell me what I can or can't do." "Not anymore." She backed up a step, then another, until her back hit the edge of the giant bed. Her pulse hammered in her ears. "This marriage doesn't mean anything." You can't just. Can't? Ethan cut her off, closing the distance between them in 2 strides. He grabbed her chin, tilting her face up until she was forced to meet his eyes. His touch wasn't gentle. It was rough, claiming, "Watch me." Ava's breath came out shaky, but anger still burned inside her. "You don't own me, Ethan." His jaw tightened, his voice dropping lower. "Don't I?" And before she could protest again, his mouth crashed onto hers. The kiss wasn't sweet, it was raw, fierce, demanding. She pushed against his chest, but his grip only tightened, pulling her closer until her body was flush against his. Her hands balled into fists against him, but the heat that shot through her veins betrayed her. She hated that her lips parted under his, hated the moan that slipped out when his tongue slid against hers. "God, you taste like fire," Ethan muttered against her mouth, his voice rough. "I knew you'd fight me. But damn, Ava, you want this as much as I do." "I don't," she whispered, breathless, but the lie trembled on her lips. Ethan's hands slid down, gripping her hips, lifting her onto the bed with a roughness that made her gasp. He hovered over her, his weight pressing her down, his eyes burning with hunger and something darker. "You can lie to yourself all night," he said, brushing his mouth along her jaw, down to her throat. "But your body won't lie to me." Ava arched when his lips found her neck, biting down just enough to leave a mark. Her fingers betrayed her, clutching his shirt, pulling him closer when she should have shoved him away. "Ethan." Her voice cracked between defiance and surrender. He pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. His gaze was wild, obsessive. "Say my name like that again and I swear, you'll never forget what it feels like to be mine." A war raged inside her: hate, anger, fear, and a desire that scared her more than anything. She should have resisted. She wanted to. But as his mouth claimed hers again, harder, deeper, her body betrayed her completely. For the first time, Ava realized this wasn't just a battle she could win. This was the beginning of her undoing. Chapter 3: Running from the Devil. The mansion was silent. Too silent. Ava's heart thundered as she shoved a small bag into the closet, stuffing it with whatever she could grab. Her hands were trembling, but her mind was made up she couldn't stay here another night with him. Not after the way he kissed her. Not after the way her body betrayed her, melting into his like it belonged there. She hated him for it. Hated herself even more. The clock on the wall ticked past midnight. Perfect. The guards at the front gate always rotated shifts then. She'd seen it earlier. If she was fast enough, she could slip out through the side door and disappear before Ethan even noticed she was gone. She pushed the zipper closed, slung the bag over her shoulder, and tiptoed toward the door. But the second her hand touched the knob, a voice sliced through the darkness. "Going somewhere, wifey?" Ava froze. Her blood went ice cold. Slowly she turned. Ethan leaned casually against the wall near the window, his arms crossed, his shirt half unbuttoned, his grey eyes glowing like steel in the shadows. He looked infuriatingly calm, but his jaw ticked a silent warning that she was in deep trouble. Her throat tightened. "Move." He arched a brow, pushing off the wall. "Move? You really think you get to walk out on me? On us?" "There is no us," Ava snapped, gripping the bag tighter. "You don't own me, Ethan. This marriage doesn't give you that right." He chuckled darkly, stepping closer with slow, deliberate strides that made her chest pound. "Doesn't it? Because last time I checked, you signed the papers. You stood in that church. You said the words. You're mine, Ava. Legally, physically, in every damn way that matters." "God, you're insane," she hissed, trying to sidestep him. But he caught her wrist, yanking her back hard enough that the bag slipped from her shoulder and thudded to the floor. Ethan's voice was low, rough. Yeah, maybe I am. But you still married me. You still belong to me. Ava's chest heaved as she tried to twist free. Let me go. He slammed her back gently against the wall. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough that escape was impossible. His body pressed into hers, his hand gripping her wrist above her head, pinning her in place. Say it again, he demanded, his lips inches from hers. Tell me you don't feel anything when I touch you. Tell me you hate me. Lie to my face, Ava. Her lips parted, words caught in her throat. She wanted to scream at him, to push him away. But his heat seeped into her. His breath fanned across her mouth, and her body betrayed her all over again, her pulse racing, her knees going weak. You can't, Ethan murmured, his free hand sliding to her waist, pulling her tighter against him. Because your body's already mine. Every damn part of you. She shivered, her heart screaming run while her body whispered stay. Ethan! Her voice broke, a mix of defiance and desperate need. That was all it took. His mouth crashed onto hers, fiercer than the night before. This wasn't a kiss. It was a war. His teeth grazed her lip. His tongue demanded entrance. And she hated how fast she gave in, her fingers tangling in his shirt, as if clinging to the very man she swore she despised. He groaned against her lips, breaking the kiss only to trail hot, biting kisses down her neck, sucking just hard enough to leave a mark that made her gasp. His voice came out ragged. You think you can run from me? Sweetheart, you'll never make it past the door. I'll always find you, always. Her head fell back, her breath shaky as his mouth worshipped her throat, her collarbone, every inch of skin he could reach. She fought to keep her voice steady. You can't keep me here forever. His hand slid lower, gripping her thigh, lifting it to wrap around his hip as his body pressed harder against hers. His eyes met hers again, dark, hungry, dangerous. Watch me, he growled. Ava's resistance crumbled in waves. Every touch, every kiss, every bite dragged her deeper into a storm she couldn't escape. Her moans filled the room, betraying her hate, betraying her fear. And when Ethan finally carried her to the bed, pinning her beneath him with a look that promised both ruin and salvation, she knew the truth. This wasn't just a marriage. It was a battlefield. And she was already losing. Chapter 4. Fire and chains. The room was dark, but it pulsed with heat. Ava's skin burned under Ethan's touch, every brush of his mouth against her throat unraveling her piece by piece. The fight was gone. The resistance a fragile ghost. She hated him, but right now, she hated herself more for wanting him this badly. He pressed her into the sheets, his body caging hers, his grey eyes burning with a hunger that felt like it could eat her alive. His lips moved over her jaw, down her collarbone, leaving fire in their wake. You drive me insane, he muttered against her skin, his voice rough, broken. Every word out of your mouth makes me want to ruin you, and every sound you make pulls me closer. Ava's breath came out shaky, her fingers fisting the sheets before sliding into his hair, tugging when his lips found the hollow of her neck. A moan escaped her lips, betraying every wall she'd built. Ethan, she whispered, trembling. He pulled back just enough to look at her, his hand gripping her chin firmly, making her eyes lock onto his. Say it again. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. Ethan. Something snapped in him. He kissed her again. Slower this time, but deeper, more dangerous. Like he was claiming her soul, not just her body. Ava's world spun as his hands traced her curves, every touch making her body scream for more. It was raw. It was wrong. But it was theirs. Just when the heat threatened to consume them both. Bang! A sharp knock on the bedroom door broke through the haze. Ava's eyes shot wide open. Ethan froze, his body going still above her. The silence that followed was heavy. Charge. Mr. Carter, came a muffled voice from outside. One of the guards. There's been movement at the gates. We think someone's trying to get in. Ethan's jaw clenched. Fury flared in his eyes as he looked down at Ava, his chest heaving. For a second, she thought he might ignore it, but then he growled low. Dangerous. Stay, right, here. His voice was sharp, leaving no room for argument. He slid off the bed, snatching his shirt from the floor and yanking it on with rough movements. His eyes cut to hers one last time, sharp and possessive. If anyone even breathes near you, Ava, they're dead. Her heart skipped. She believed him. As the door clicked shut behind him, Ava lay there, her body still trembling, lips swollen from his kisses, mind spinning from what almost happened. She should have felt relief at the interruption. She should have prayed for distance. But instead, she found herself aching for him to come back. When Ethan finally returned, his shirt half undone, his expression dark, he walked straight to the bed. Handled, he muttered, climbing back over her like he hadn't left at all. His eyes softened just enough to make her breath hitch. Now, where were we? And when his mouth claimed hers again, harder, deeper, Ava knew. This wasn't just a night. This was the start of being consumed. Chapter 5. The night of no turning back. The moment Ethan shut the door behind him, Ava felt her lungs seize. The air was heavy, thick with everything they hadn't said. He didn't look like a man coming back from handling danger, he looked like a storm that had decided to stay. His shirt hung open, his chest rising and falling as his gaze pinned her in place. She lay half-tangled in the sheets, her hair messy, her lips still swollen from his earlier kisses, and the way his eyes darkened at the sight of her, like she was the only thing he'd ever wanted, made her heart stumble. He moved toward her slowly, like a predator savoring the hunt. Every step made her pulse race faster. You thought you could run from me, he said, his voice low, rough. Now you won't even move. Ava swallowed hard, forcing herself to sit up. You're insane, he smirked, crawling onto the bed, closing the space between them until her back pressed into the pillows. Maybe, but you're mine all the same. Before she could snap back, his lips crushed against hers. This kiss wasn't like the last ones. It wasn't rushed or angry. It was deeper, slower, burning like a fuse that refused to die out. His tongue teased hers, his teeth grazing her bottom lip, and the sound that escaped her chest was shameless.